online. He's not able to attend, so
all those coming in person. Oh my God.
yeah, he thought he was too, but things happen. So, so thank you everyone for coming. We have a number of guests joining us this evening, and we'll let them introduce themselves when it's their opportunity to speak with us and share some things with us. But thanks to everyone for being here. As Carissa mentioned, we've had our group photo, so you're welcome as somebody comes back. If you want a headshot, to go and get one, just leave and come back. And you have that opportunity. Even if you had one before, if you don't like it, you can go get one. I also wanted to mention that Marie will be staying after the meeting. She has a Forever Canada petition. And so if you have not had an opportunity and have been waiting for the right moment to sign, this is your chance. So I happened to go to the advanced polls to vote earlier this week, and Marie was outside the polling station collecting signatures. So thanks for that, for doing that. The other thing I wanted to mention is that Councillor Tang will not be joining us today given the upcoming election, but she sends her greetings and asked me to pass those along to everyone. So in terms of our agenda, before we approve the agenda, and I asked someone to approve the agenda, we're going to make one change. Joshua will be joining us, but he has to leave at 6. So we're going to give our Rapid Housing folks, Doug and his crew, an opportunity to speak with us. And then we will give Joshua the opportunity to talk and give his update before he has to leave. And then we'll hear from Heather and her crew. Team is probably a better word. So that will be the one adjustment to the agenda, and that will be reflected in the minutes. Can I ask someone to approve or move to approve the agenda? Friday, thank you. Anyone opposed?
I've seconded it. Oh,
okay. Yeah. Being a small group, we typically don't second, but it's okay. I learned that. And then hoping everyone who was able to review the meeting minutes from the September meeting. Were there any errors or omissions, things that need correcting in those minutes? All right, could I ask someone to move the minutes? Trina, thank you. Any objections? All right. Well then, Zachary has offered to do the Indigenous land acknowledgement for us right now, but he is getting his photo taken. So what is the protocol in this case? Would anyone like to do it on his behalf in the spur of the moment? Can we come back to it? We will come back to it. We've already asked our guests to be patient enough. So with that plan in place, we will turn the floor over to our Rapid Housing folks who have come to give us an update. For those of you new to the committee, they came and presented last, I was in October, so a year ago. So we thought it might be nice to have them come back and let us know where things are at with the work of building permanent supportive housing around the city. So thank you. The floor is yours. I get to be timekeeper. We have, but we're already running behind, so we have about a half an hour. So we'll let them present, and then we'll.
I didn't know we were gonna stand up.
Whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
We should have some chairs if you want to.
Just brief introductions. I know she introduced me as my team. It's not my team, it's Scott's team. Scott is the enabler that allowed us to do this project. Scott is here.
So my name is Scott Ash. I am with Project Development and Affordable Housing and Homelessness here at the city. We effectively act as the client on these projects. So kind of assembling the land, working with our partners from our trust to kind of develop what the vision for the individual sites are, and then sourcing funding to make them happen. So, and then we work with Doug and Bruce and Adrian to actually implement them.
So my name is Doug Cernecki. I'm a program manager with Facilities Infrastructure Delivery. So we will work closely with our friends in infrastructure planning and design to fast track this project through. So I want to go to Bruce next.
Bruce Johnson, I'm a program manager with the city as well. I work alongside Doug on the Kenora Garneau projects, along with numerous other ones that Doug does as well.
Yes. And sorry.
Sorry, guys, just for the services and the ASL interpreter, can you just speak at a fair pace, not
Sorry.
too fast, not too slow?
Sorry.
Just before you
not a
get
problem.
too far in.
Okay, yep. Yeah, so what we do is we partner with construction managers and architects to help us through this process. It's a real collaborative process where we have everybody pulling to meet the tight timelines that Scott's negotiated on our behalf for turning these around. So if you were at the last meeting, you'll know we had 12 months from approval to turnover. This one we had graciously had 16 months. So from the time we got approval to go ahead with starting the project, we did 4 months of design, and then GEC worked the midnight oil to get us a set of drawings so that we could start construction 4 months later and turn this facility over on schedule within the 12-month construction period. So I'll turn it over to Adrian. He's the architect who is responsible. I see on the screen.
Thank you, everyone, for having us. My name is Adrian Law. I'm a partner at GEC Architecture. We're the architect and prime consultant for these 3 permanent supportive housing projects. We also had the pleasure to work with the city on 5 other permanent supportive housing projects before these 3. So these 3 are really informed and learned from the previous 5, and we feel like have made a lot of positive improvements in a lot of different ways. We have a little bit of visuals here to try to illustrate some of the key accessibility features that we have in these 3 projects. Primarily, the one on the screen here is the Holyrood permanent supportive housing project. This one is completed now, and the other 2 is Garneau and Kenora, and those 2 are under construction. So go to the next slide.
All right.
So these are the 3 locations of the projects. First one, where the red star is the Holyrood project. It's in the Holyrood neighborhood, right next to the Holyrood LRT station. In the middle is Garneau. It is just north of White Avenue, just east of the University Hospital. And then Kenora is in the just north of Stony Plain Road, and just east of 156th Street. So it's right next to the new LRT line. That's next slide. This is 2 photographs of the completed Holyrood building. On the left-hand side is an image of the base. At the bottom is a ceremony room for Indigenous ceremony, and above it is outdoor balcony spaces that are enclosed with a screen that has a motif of aspen forest. On the right, it's a front entry. So you can see a lot of shelter from the weather, and a lot of space for gathering before the entrance. It is 63 units. This one is completed construction. The next slide. This is the Garneau project. On the left is a photo from the construction site, a sense of where it's at. The top is a artist's image of what it will look like. On the bottom right is an image of an artist's image of what the inside will look like. This is the front desk that kind of illustrates the barrier-free access to the counter, as well as what the some of the colors on the inside are looking like. And the next slide. Next slide is the Kenora project. So again, 63 units is under construction. Image here at the top right of what the construction looks like today. On the left is artist's image of the same screened balcony. In Garneau and Kenora, the image on the screen will be a art piece developed by an Indigenous artist. So they'll look different. And then again, an artist's image of the interior, showing the colors, the desk, and the space. Next slide. So going through Holyrood, I'm going to go through the drawings to show some of the key accessibility features of it, starting with the site. So item number one, the main entry has a sloped walk up the grade change to get to the entry. It's gentle and it's quite gracious to get a barrier-free access to the front entry. Item number two, we have dedicated barrier-free parking with individual curb ramp access to sidewalks, which provides additional access. And number three, we provided barrier-free path of travel to the waste bins in the rear, ensuring that the full use of the site is fully accessible. Next slide. On the main floor, item number one is the barrier-free front entry. Has two-level push buttons for motion to have the doors open on their own. Item number two is a guest universally accessible washroom. Number three saw the image where the main front desk has a lower barrier-free counter space for wheelchair access. Item number four is the ceremony room that you saw in the image. Again, is a fully accessible space. Item number five, we have 3 units that are fully barrier-free on the main floor. And item number 6 is the rest of the space is fully universally designed. So all of our doorways are larger, all of our hallways are larger, all of our signage has braille on it as well. You know, high contrasting door frames. So the remainder of the space is also universally designed.
Sorry, before you go off
Yeah.
the slide, are there going to be, is this place staffed as well?
Yes.
And are they on the main floor or
So
is that what those offices
yeah,
are?
on the
or-
bottom is the staff area.
Okay.
The open space is for residents. And a lot of the rooms are counseling rooms, support rooms. So this is, has full-time staff, full-time supports for the residents.
This is a supportive housing model, not an affordable housing, so it's an added level of acuity where they have 24/7 availability to support and training and other things that they need.
Next slide. So this is a drawing of the typical floor. So floors 2, 3, and 4 look the same. Item number 1. So we have a barrier-free elevator access with wide hallways. They're wider than they're over 6 feet wide. Item number 2, we have each floor has a barrier-free accessible laundry space with no stacked units, so it's all horizontally laid out units. Number 3 is our balcony space, which is a common space for everyone on the floor. Not to as a push button access to use the door to get out. Number 4, so every single apartment suite in this building has a fully barrier-free washer. Zero entry shower, space beside the toilet, grab bars. It's fully equipped with barrier-free washer. Number 5, there is dedicated suites that are fully barrier-free that have barrier-free kitchen as well. And number 6 is the rest is fully universally designed as well. On this project, as I said, all of the units have a barrier-free washroom. The reason is because the residents who live here could be living on the street right now, and generally that population ages at a quicker rate physically than the rest. So they need mobility assistance at a greater rate. So this allows the facilities to be able to be universally accommodating of their current needs or their future needs. It does appear in some of the other slides, but these buildings are concrete framed. The floor structure is strong enough to support any lifts that may need to be installed in the future. As well, all the doorways are quite wide, as I mentioned. The other thing is every unit is a studio unit. These aren't offered to families or couples, they're individuals, but not having a wall just again adds the mobility options. There's a lot more space for moving around. So feedback that we heard from our first projects was that this would be preferred for the residents to just give a bit more flexibility.
We also took off closet doors and left the exposed rods so that they didn't have to open doors to reach in to grab their clothing and things like that. So,
Sorry, I have lots of
No, all
questions.
good.
Just with number 3 with the balconies, barrier-free balconies. But are there safety barriers on the balconies?
Yes, so the image you saw at the beginning with the full screen, so they're fully enclosed balconies. So there's guardrail all the way around them. Yeah, to go back to,
Which one?
like this would be
First
an
one.
example of a balcony for a different project, but they're kind of the same. So they're fully enclosed. There, this is the balcony.
Right, so you can't.
Yeah.
there's also a concrete guardrail around the inside that about 42 inches or something like that high.
Yeah.
So there's no chance of catching
I just wanted to make sure I understand correctly. So you have 3 fully barrier-free units on the ground floor and then 1 per floor as well?
We have 3 per floor.
3 per floor as well. Okay, wow.
So what is it, 20%?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So we've provided 20% of the suites, and all 3 of these projects are fully barrier free. And then I think as we shown, the other ones aren't technically fully barrier free, but have a lot of accessibility components built into them.
That there's studio suites, which is sort of the industry norm as well.
Yeah.
But just what's the square footage of them?
Oh, great question.
Approximately.
I think they're probably 350 to 400 square feet. The other, yeah,
These ones vary a little because of the sawtooth design on the front.
Okay,
So some are a little bigger, some are a little smaller. Yeah.
that's a good size, actually.
Yeah.
But where, the ceilings are pretty high. They're very spacious, building units.
Yeah, I would say we have really large windows as well. I think again, I noted it in another place, but we tried to have low sills to the window too. So from an accessibility perspective, everyone has the ability to look out. And the controls are at a lower level too, so the operating of the cleaners is accessible. But really large windows for a small suite to make it feel bright. So
Yeah, and taller ceilings as well, so you don't feel like you're in a cave. It's on the last set we had 9-foot ceilings, and I think we have 9 or even 5 higher during some of these. It's really good.
I also have those questions. I'll wait till you're done.
sure, yeah, okay.
We're happy to take them.
I feel like they'll be better encompassed.
Yeah, sure. So this is a bit of a blow up here of the different suite types in this building. So again, number 1, all of the suites have large entryways to allow for more mobility and entering the suites. Number 2, it's have barrier-free washrooms in all of the suites. Number 3, as I mentioned, no walls on the interior to provide added mobility. Number 4, concrete structures or lifts. Number 5, barrier-free kitchens. That's in the designated barrier-free suites. That would have space to roll up right to the counter. It's at a lower height, has a cooktop instead of a full stove and a wall oven. So it supports a little bit more accessibility. Microwave would be down lower, so specially designed to accommodate that. And yeah, number 6 is the lower window sills, accessible controls.
One of the things that Adrian incorporated was the barrier-free hardware for all of the kitchen areas. So it doesn't matter if it's a non-barrier-free or barrier-free, it has the same hardware, nice big holes that you can grab it. Or,
Accessible,
yeah.
Next. So this is the floor plans of Garneau. So again, these are the drawings that are used for the construction. But just to illustrate some items, again, these 2 projects of Garneau and Aura had a tighter budget than Olive, so we had to make some changes. But we still have barrier-free entry. We still are providing the universal washroom. On the suites, we still have the no wall design. Still have the concrete structure to support future installation of lifts. We are still providing the 20% barrier-free suites. And each suite had a barrier-free shower. We didn't have the space because we had to save some money to do the full barrier-free washroom in them, but we still provided the roll-in showers with the grab bars. So as far as the shower and the movability within the washroom, it's still better than the standard, but Poly allowed us to do kind of a full requirement. So next slide. This is the Kenora project. It has the same components. So barrier-free entry, it has the barrier-free front desk, as you mentioned, barrier-free ceremony room, fully universally designed on all of the public spaces, barrier-free balcony, and barrier-free laundry. So both of those projects have the same components that all of them have. I think that's it. And then so this is an image of the completed project, Holyrood with downtown in the background.
Well, thank you very much. I have to tell you, every time I drive by one of these rapid housing buildings, I just smile,
Yeah.
not only because they're meeting a really significant need in our city, but those screens and the color that they add to the community is really something else. So thank you for that. Just a reminder, we have about 10 minutes for further questions. So if you have a comment or a question, one per person, and if we have time, we'll do a second round.
Who administrates the, for example, the Hollywood one? Are they all gonna be administrated by the same group?
So Homer Trust is the owner of the building in the end and the operator, the manager of it, I can say.
Yeah, property manager.
Property manager, but a different social agency will run each project.
So they'll be having our request for proposals in relation to Kenora and Garneau, probably in the next 3 to 4 months. We'll see that. And in regards to Holyrood, George Spady Society was the selected to operate it, and they started operations in the building in September 2nd and have now accepted 12 residents. I think it'll be 15 by the end of the week, and they expect full occupancy by the end of the year.
Any other comments or questions, Sam?
It sounds like we've learned some stuff from the previous 5. I'm wondering if you can maybe highlight specifically some of the learnings that after those have been operating for a while.
Sure.
Whether you've implemented them here or not, that's fine.
Probably have to talk about modular.
Well, accessibility.
Yeah.
I would say the first 5 had tubs and showers and more residential showers. And I think what we heard was having 0 entry, all showers was a much better use for the washer. So that's why we pushed that way. I think we heard a lot about the usability of the washroom space, needing a bit more room and it being not as flexible, or all of a sudden needs a locker or something. So again, that's why we try to incorporate that into all units. Same with the no wall decision. We went back to the operators and we had 1-bedroom suites previous 5, and they weren't a preference of the residents.
They weren't well used for people, some who had been living in homelessness for decades, and then to have an apartment where you have a room that's just to sleep in, and it's just not well used, and oftentimes just used for storage.
Or they didn't use it at all.
That's it.
Yeah. They slept on the couch or wherever in a smaller area. So yeah, it's better to use those spaces.
I think those others are wood frame projects generally also. And I think, it's not necessarily only about accessibility for the switch to concrete. There's other reasons, but it allowed us to again have a target effect to support more growth with the growing needs of the populations. So that was a little too.
We widened out the hallways a bit. We found that after the construction, they seemed very narrow, and they were still fine, but by widening them out, we provide a more comfortable vehicle and allow for larger wheelchairs or anything else to go down there without feeling pinched. So we did those as well.
Yeah, I'd say a big learning too was just on the Indigenous consultation too. I think these projects, the funding associated with them is very quick. So moving really quick to solve a quick problem, and I think you know, a lessons learned was that you still need to do the right consultation. So that was something I learned. I did a lot better job of those things next. If you read them, you know.
In terms of the turning radius, I might have missed it, but is it 1750 millimeters or?
It's a good question. I think for Holyrood, it was completed in the previous version of the building code, so it was 150 millimeters.
150.
1500, sorry.
My phone off, we got a bag that's right.
But the other two projects have the 1750. So Garneau and Tamara have the wider turning circle.
And the doorways are how,
They're all, yeah, they're all 36-inch doors, all of them. Yeah. So they're all like into the washrooms, into the suites. I don't get that door are not 36 inches the whole film. So.
I have a question. I know nowadays apartments, condos, all those kind of buildings, that kind of stuff are set up on like auditory systems. You know, for like the front door, you got to push a button to talk to an intercom to access. But of course, like deaf people, how are we supposed to access that building? We need a video screen, you know, next to your phone or text message, camera, that kind of thing. And then like the lights as well for emergency alerts, like fire alarms, front doors. Do all three buildings have those kind of accessibility features?
Some of them. We do have strobe lights for the fire alarms, so there is a visual for that. I don't think the front door operation.
It's got a screen.
Yeah.
The front door has what's with a screen and a
Okay.
camera on it so that they can see.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
That was homework.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah.
That really helped for the deaf community. Thank you.
That's good. Yeah.
Any other comments or questions?
I have
Stephanie?
what's the lighting like in the hallways and the suites?
You mean like, is it higher than normal? Is it-
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like low glare type thing?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know, to be honest, if it's higher than,
Is it like LED?
it's LED, they're all LEDs everywhere. They're all of, it's a warmer color. It's not the bluish light, so it's a warmer feel. The corridors all have windows at the end of them, so they're generally a brighter space. At the elevators, we have increased lighting right there. That's one of our requirements. But I don't know if there's over and above lighting in the corridors.
Probably what we should do or should have done. Maybe you can still do it. Is go at night when they're framed up so we can see the lighting levels.
Yeah.
Right. If you go during the day, the windows are so big. There's so much light in there. It's quite open and that. So that's a good point.
That's a good question. We intend to do a post-occupancy audit of a few of the buildings, so that's an opportunity to ask residents, you know, how the lighting works for them. Get a better understanding of that.
Oh, great.
So before we go to Sam for the final question, or her second question, I guess, does anyone else have a question that hasn't had an opportunity to ask or comment?
I just want to add something if I can. Interesting.
Sure.
So if in the elevator, if I'm stuck in the elevator, for example, is there a way for me to call for help in that elevator? like a push, like a speaking button, or like, is there like a video system? If it's just a speak to talk, then I'm still stuck.
Yeah,
It might just be a speak to talk.
yeah. I know that question.
Okay,
That's very good.
Yeah.
that's what I thought it would be.
But that,
Put security,
there's,
Next one, then we can improve that elevator service.
I don't know about the security, so if they have security in it.
we added the security package and the camera package is provided by Homeward Trust as part of their bid out.
Yeah.
So they do it based on their needs, but I do remember doing a change order for a camera cable. It's a special cable that goes in the elevator that travels up and down, or a security camera. So they would be able to see if somebody's in that elevator, if the call button was pressed.
They've got, over 60, in the case of Polyroot, 60 cameras monitoring, public areas there, because, health events, OBs and things like that are something that they deal with on a regular basis. So they have to be, very aware of the public spaces.
Well, thank you. We're out of time. We need to honor your time. So I think if there are other questions, I know some you have, maybe we can send them to Carissa and Carissa will forward them to you if that's okay.
Yep, that's absolutely fantastic.
Mine will be, could we have a tour of Glenora or Garnor, before you move people in and,
Talk to this man over there.
okay, we'll follow up to see if we could maybe have a tour of one before you move people in. Okay.
I've got to be really quick about the waste. I just want to know if the waste is like bake bins or is it like residential bins?
It's big.
Okay. Then I have a lot of questions. So I'll leave.
All right, thank you so much for your
Thank you.
time. Thank you. So, as we talked about, and we will save the Indigenous technology until after Joshua, when Zachary gets back. Joshua, we'll turn it over to you to provide us with the ETSAB update. You've been up to lots of things, it looks like.
Thanks, everyone.
Yes, thanks so much, Dana, and good evening, everyone. Wonderful to be with you.
We'll adjust the volume. Sorry, Joshua, we're not hearing you.
That's okay, it's just a little bit better. How's this? You guys can hear me pretty good?
Yeah.
Okay. The audio is coming through really good on my end. I'll try to speak a little bit louder, but please let me know if my audio is not loud enough. And yeah, I guess I'll just jump right into it. I was just saying, wonderful to be with everyone. So I couldn't be there in person tonight. Just a few things in my schedule coinciding, but yeah, last AAC meeting there was quite a few transit questions, and that's great for me, and it just kind of reaffirms my seat at the table there, and the ability to just exchange ideas and kind of look at things from all different perspectives. I think the first thing that we had was I know Kimberly had put out an invitation and just a thought in terms of what it would be like for persons in the deaf community to engage with anybody in transit and to answer those questions, and maybe some concerns that don't really get addressed every day. And through conversation and just some really positive back and forth, we've kind of come to the point where we're getting ready to set up a kind of town hall, or kind of more like a public discourse on transit and how that impacts the deaf community here in Edmonton. And right now, just kind of early stages, I've sent it to our board, and we're just trying to look at cost and getting those approvals, which I don't foresee should be any issue. And I'm just quite excited to kind of get everything off the ground and set a date and try to move forward. So everybody here at the AAC board you've been invited. So if you have time or space in your calendars, we're trying to set a date for some time in probably later November. It looks like at this point, maybe mid to late November, and details on that will be forthcoming. We're again just trying to look at an itinerary, and of course open to any ideas or thoughts that anybody has. But that is something that we're quite excited about. Next up, I also had some thoughts on we had some questions about, just general questions about transit issues and how that mobility affects everyone. And I spoke to a number of persons about different transit stations, the LRT platforms, obstacles at, certain transit stops. And I don't have a lot of answers yet, so I have put some of these questions forward to ETS, but I'll just give you a really quick summary. The first question was about mobility issues between certain parking lots and the transit station, and one particular is Century Park, where the park and ride lot is actually quite far from where you go to the bus terminal itself or the train. And persons who have chronic fatigue, or elderly persons, or people who might have some challenges moving quicker, it's quite a distance. And just to let you know, like that the challenge with that is that there's some transit stations, especially the LRTs, where the land is actually not owned by ETS. And in those cases, so for example, Century Park, Edmonton Transit Service, they lease that land. And because of that, the ownership structure, there's sometimes limitations in terms of what we can do to, bridge that gap or make changes to the infrastructure. So the questions that I had put forth were, years of the lease, or, is there any opportunities in the future for ETS to, take ownership of some of those particular transit stations? And that would change things significantly. So, knowing that transit service is really forward thinking and open to making things more accessible, if they do own the land, they can make those changes a lot more easily than, if the land is leased. But I would make sure that I circle back and get you some answers on that. Other questions there were about handicap parking, and then some, like I mentioned, some uneven surfaces. For example, Southgate to the west of the transit center has a lot of unlevel concrete, and that can be unsafe for persons, traversing the space by wheelchair, or anybody who might have some, vision loss trying to get through there can be quite difficult. So I have put those concerns forward to the transit team, and I'll make sure that I will get back some information for you. Lastly, art cards. So we did explore the idea last meeting about specialized art cards, and is it possible if we could have art cards that are maybe a different color, or based on maybe a person's mobility, maybe a particular card that would specify what their disability is, and give them those, either privileges or special access accordingly. And I did put the idea forward. I'm waiting to hear back on Edmonton Transit on what they think about it, because I know right now, like I had mentioned, our subcommittees are working on the art card review and some feedback, and this is probably the best time to put those ideas forward. They currently have a pilot project that's looking at feedback as well. And, we're trying to kind of bring everything all together at the same time, and let those requests be known. And if we do have some, opportunity to do specialized cards, I think it would be a great thing. And again, always open ears for anybody who has any thoughts on what that could look like. I know we did explore the possibilities based on what TransLink offers. That's in the Vancouver metro area. So if it's possible, I know it's definitely doable if there's a willingness to get it off the ground. Okay, third, I had a nice chat with Doug and Stephanie last meeting, and we're going to undertake a small project and just taking a look at what the the new painting for the curbs at and some of the transit stations, and I'm not too sure if this extends to the train stations, but you might have noticed some of that. The curbs along the bus stations now have some alternating black and yellow color patterns, and Doug was quite instrumental in being a part of that feedback team and giving them some feedback on what colors are good for people who might be either colorblind or have partial or full vision loss. So it's I'm just kind of waiting for, I don't really like to use this word, but ETS blessing, because they're in the process of rolling out, and I just in respect gave them that opportunity to let me know if they're if this is something that they're assessing right now. But I know that the snow is probably soon to fall, maybe this week, this month, next month, December, I don't know, but I would hope we can go and do that walkthrough sometime before it gets a little colder than it is now. So I know, when we can kind of arrange that, I'm hoping in the next couple weeks here, we will let you know what that looks like. Doug and Stephanie, did you guys have any thoughts on that, or still something you're willing to accompany me in?
No, I got nothing else to add. I will touch base with you following the meeting. Check it out.
Okay.
I'm
Awesome.
still good too.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate you letting me know. And yeah, and Doug's angle with that, which I appreciated quite a bit, and Ed Sab was excited as well, is that he said that yes, ETS is kind of rolling out this color scheme on the curbs to make it safe and more mobile for persons with vision loss. But Doug said he wants it to make sure that maybe persons who don't have any vision loss have some feedback to it, and just he was really cognizant of kind of how it impacts everybody. So I think that that's awesome. It will make that curb painting accessible and hopefully optimal for everyone. And just in the interest of time, I'll quickly just go over for DATS. I did have some inquiries about DATS and how we can make that better. There's been the new system was rolled out last year, but I know for those here who take DATS or even are familiar with DATS and their wait times, it's always been a challenge with having the your subscription, your booking to come on time. The new program, the applications made it better, but obviously there's still sometimes where trips are late or running behind. One of the contacts from DATS, the service manager, he has offered to come and either speak with us or find some kind of communication, and I'm happy to be kind of the mediator to kind of interface either way, or that invitation was also extended to if the AAC board felt it was prudent, relevant for him to make a small presentation sometime, whether now in the near future or the early new year on DATS, then he would certainly be willing to talk about that and address it. I know in a small way, so through the town hall that Kimberly and I are trying to build out, we are trying to one specific segment of that agenda will be looking at DATS and how DATS has been available, or maybe not meeting standard for persons in the deaf community, but of course that extends to all persons, and I'm again willing to, over the next weeks and months, please be open and give me your feedback on the challenges you're having with DATS, because I'm just in the process. I didn't really want to do anything premature or just have a presentation with no substance, but I think that there are a number of issues with DATS, and they've always been open and willing to address those kind of concerns. So I'm excited about what the possibilities are for DATS and the improvements that can be made, and I think if we can keep that feedback coming, it will give them the opportunity to address those things and make the necessary improvements. Again, lots of great things happening in transit, and I know a lot of great things happening at AAC. I will make sure that I, continue to work on these questions and look forward to bringing back some more information at the next month's meeting. And I'm sorry that I won't be able to attend the rest of tonight's meeting, but thank you, Dana, as always, for giving me an opportunity to speak and connect with everyone here. And guys, have a great night. Look forward to touching base with you all next month.
To see you. Thanks, Joshua. I appreciate, sounds like it was a great conversation last month, and grateful for your research in between now and then to come back with some responses and make some things happen. So thank you. Enjoy the rest of your.
Thanks, guys. You too. Thanks so much. Bye.
Heather, who's ready to go? Yes. Yes. Yes.
Thank you very
Thanks, Heather and Yogi. I know if you had a look at the information that came out in advance of this meeting and this presentation, Heather and Yogi and the crew have a significant number of questions, which is great for us to go through. So maybe we'll let them talk through their presentation, and then we'll work through the questions, and I'll be the interrupter if people are taking a long time to get their point across. We have lots of time, so hopefully we're good.
Good. Thank you. We'll do introductions because I do have other staff joining us too. My name is Yogi Subramanian. I'm in the Integrated Infrastructure Services Department. Currently on a temporary assignment as the accessibility lead.
And there are a few new faces since the last meeting. So I'm Heather Craig, and I work in the same area as Carissa, but I work on corporate accessibility. So Yogi and I co-chair our corporate accessibility. Can you just speak up a little bit?
Jasmine?
I'm Jasmine Boyle. I'm a co-op student with and I'm
And I'm Sean Buchanan. I attended the last meeting, and so I've been supporting Yogi on a lot of these initiatives as a member of our access.
Department Accessibility Committee.
Yes, thank you. So many committees. So many.
Hello, I'm Victoria. I'm sorry, I'm behind here. I'm also part of Yogi and Sean's team. I'm helping support the access.
Hey, we'll get started. So the reason why we are here today is to get some feedback. We can go to the next slide. Thank you. Slide is coming. Yeah, we want to get some feedback from you on the proposed updates and some new sections on the Access Design Guide. We had talked about the ongoing update at the last meeting. Yes. Okay, so the overarching goal with this update of the guide is to create accessible environments that promote independence. So the changes that we are doing in the update, they are informed by what we heard during previous engagements that we did. So we have done two public engagements in 2024 and one early 2025. We also reviewed the feedback that you had provided when we came to engage with you as part of the policy update. And lessons learned through the city's accessibility work in the past 4 years, and also through the projects that we work on. Updates to the minimum requirements in 2023, Alberta 4. So the building codes come out every 5 years and there are usually upgrades that happen. So we want to make sure that the guide is above and beyond building code. We're also doing comparison to different standards, mostly the CSA, ASC standard. CSA is the Canadian Standards Association, and ASC is Accessibility Standards Canada. So they have collaborated on one standard, 3651 now. And we're also doing a comparison with Clearing Our Path version 2, and also the City of Toronto's Accessibility Design Guideline, which seems to be a very comprehensive. Something else we are doing is we are making sure that all the requirements, we are refining and enhancing them to acknowledge the diverse range of disabilities and improve the user experience for individuals with sensory sensitivities, low dexterity, dementia, cognitive or neurological disabilities, and others. So the guide is applied to the planning and design of city-owned and operated built environment. This includes facilities such as recreation centers, open spaces, basically parks and playgrounds, transit infrastructure such as bus stops and transit stations, so the whole transit infrastructure. In operational facilities, so some examples of operational facilities are transit garages, maintenance yards. So in operational facilities, the application of the guide is limited to workspaces such as office and administration spaces and adjoining washrooms and common areas. The guide is applicable to renovations of existing spaces. However, the level of compliance will depend on feasibility, mainly due to space constraints in an existing when we renovate an existing building. Other considerations that factor into decision making and application of the guide include operational feasibility and maintainability. So, what we are able to sustain long term.
So we did share the full table of contents in the current access design guide in advance of the meeting. But just to highlight, the exterior sections include open spaces development, special park amenities, vehicular access, exterior passive travel, and then there are multiple subsections under each of these. And then next, the interior sections include entrances and path of travel, interior spaces and features, recreation facilities, washrooms and change rooms. And we have also sections on Edmonton Transit and inclusive design for dwelling units now. There are also multiple subsections under this. So this slide lists the proposed new subsections being added for the exterior section. And these include trails and shared use paths, boardwalks, boat launches, dog off-leash areas, and temporary washrooms. So these were not in the current guide. These are things we're looking to add. And then this is the proposed new subsections for the interior section. So adding building signage, access control gates, standard water closet stalls, quiet areas, indoor playgrounds and sports fields, office spaces, and multi-unit residential buildings. So really in an attempt to improve and enhance what's existing that we noticed was missing from the current. So question now to you. We kind of have questions worked throughout, but our first question is, based on your understanding of the guide to date and what you have seen, are there any exterior or interior spaces not listed that you believe should be included? So anything that you didn't see on the screen that we need to make sure is in the guide.
Is there any, sorry, go ahead.
Did you, and I may have missed it, actually like roads and sidewalks, is that?
Yeah,
That's
that's a
in there?
section on that.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there any mention of that's all?
Yes, within the parking area, yeah, there's clear instructions for access aisles with a curb cut in between.
And what about, I don't know if this gets into this or not, but like infill areas, like seen a lot of that, like 8 plexes and all that stuff. I'm just trying to think where we're gonna be at in 4 years.
Yes, so we did add the, what is it here? Section on multiple, oh, here it is. Inclusive design for dwelling units.
Okay, I was wondering if that was.
Zach, are you wondering about the residences being built, like the infill housing and parking there?
Well, for example, like we just got a presentation around the new affordable housing units. And I mean, they're great, but I know that they're also quote unquote, specialized, right? Like your supportive care units, et cetera, or assisted living rather. So I'm just wondering, an effort to go beyond, the Abbey roads and the creek sides and all this. If there's, and it might not be jurisdictionally possible, but like, the infill buildings, obviously they have to abide by building code. If there's any money going in from the city, then I just want to make sure we're covered off with housing.
Yeah, because if it's city owned, then they would have to follow the access
Right.
agreement, so we've got the section in there.
There's gonna be private builders that we can't do anything about, but
Yeah, so anywhere that this access design guide would apply,
Okay.
they would use the interior dwellings unit. But if you wanted to take a more in-depth look into that section, and see if there's anything in there that is missing in terms of multiplexes or those larger infill units that we could address, then that we can take a look at that. But yeah.
It will fall under zoning bylaw requirements rather than.
got it. Okay, thank you. And maybe that didn't apply.
I'm just looking at the operational facilities, and I'm wondering, where do you place the Commonwealth Stadium, like stadiums?
So the stadium wouldn't, that wouldn't be the.
Stadiums are
Yeah.
public facilities.
Yeah,
Okay, so this guy doesn't apply to.
it is city owned, so
Yeah,
it would, yeah.
stadiums comes under, like the city-owned stadium, like Commonwealth, if
Yes.
you're talking about Commonwealth. Yeah, the guide does apply. And
If
if
they're
we-
doing a renovation.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, maybe would it be nice to have a session under recreational facilities for stadia, considering given that when there are events in those spaces, there's always like a huge crowd, and accessibility spaces is always compromised. And
Do you mean the seating spaces?
the sitting spaces, it's always like really people are stacked, and moving around with mobility challenges can will always be a challenge. So I don't know, maybe if there is much information or guide that can be provided in those areas.
If it is a design, if there is a design solution, then we can capture it in the guide.
Yeah.
If it is a operational, like how the stadium is operated and handles crowd, then it becomes, it's out of scope of the guide. But design solutions, yeah, we can speak about.
If we were gonna do a major renovation there or build a new stadium, for sure, we could address that issue. But with the current stadium, the way it is now, without going through a major renovation or retrofit, then it would be more operational for that.
My last comment is, where do you place web accessibility websites?
Web.
So this document that we have is specific for infrastructure. But we do speak about that in the procedure attached to C602A, that everything related to city web pages had to meet the WCAG guidelines. So it's in the procedure, but yeah.
And we have a lot more questions, so if you think of things, as we go through, you can let us know that. Yeah. And, yeah.
Sorry, and where's this go?
Yeah.
So I saw there was, it included bike paths and accessible pathways for the city. Is that including the river valley as well? Paths along the river valley? Because I know, I mean, it's fine for the most part, but there is one section that is quite hilly. It's like a roller coaster going in that area. So I'm just wondering if there's anything about improving those areas within the river valley for people that don't, that, you know, that are using e-scooters or wheelchairs, and it's not as accessible for them to have to go on the grass or the rocks versus the actual path. And I also saw in the guide, it's supposed to be applied for all new buildings. But I've noticed quite a few places are based again on the audio system. If there's an intercom, we have to call in the parking lot to pay. It's all audio based. So for deaf people, it can be quite a struggle to try to call through these audio systems. And like I said, it's not accessible to deaf and hard of hearing people. So I was wondering if there's any way that that could be changed to either a video screen or even a text number versus a phone call number. I know that there is quite a few deaf people that will call trying to use VRS, and then, which is a third-party interpreting service, and the person receiving the phone call will hang up because they don't know that it's not a scam call and it's directly a call from a deaf caller. So I don't know if there's any education about deaf accessibility that can be provided in this guide as well, especially for emergencies. You know, if you have to press a button and somebody's speaking back to you through an intercom, that's not accessible for us.
Yeah, so thank you, because we actually have a question about trails. So that's great. We were gonna ask about River Valley trails, so yes, they will be included. And any specific feedback that you have on what should be in the guide in terms of those trails would be welcome. So, and if you think of anything else when we get to that, but definitely, yes.
So in regards to audio-based systems, we are refining self-serve machines section, for example, to have both audio and visual. That aligns with the CSA standards.
And then we also did training with 311 staff on VRS and set up a sample VRS call to help with training. So that's great feedback, because it might be something we can continue to do regularly. So yes, we have done that, and we'll make a note to keep doing it and do a refresher for new staff as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be nice if there was an annual course or something.
Yeah.
Because, you know, there's lots of people that work within those roles, so it'd be nice if they can keep up to date.
Yeah, no, that's a great reminder. It has been a little bit of time since we did that training, so I think it would be timely to do another refresher. Thank you. Okay. Next. Oh, yes, one more.
Not sure if the access guide covers it, but like playgrounds and stuff, is that, I know it's
Sorry,
not.
can you repeat it?
Do playgrounds fall under the access?
Yes.
Excuse me. And so, obviously, if there's a new one being built on city property, this would apply. If there's one being built that's on shared property or not on city property, but maybe contingent on funding or grants, is that included in accessibility expectations or anything like that?
It's a tricky one. When it is built by the city, like funded by the city, then of course the guide is applied. But when community raises funding, for example, even if it is built on city property, there is always the discussions about, the funding limitations that community funding has. And one of the things I think we have in the policy is if it is part of the funding agreement, then they follow the policy. But it depends on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, and if it's a City of Edmonton grant, then one of the actions in the new plan is to ask them to provide accessibility considerations if they're getting a City of Edmonton grant.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was just added in this new plan.
Oh, was, okay, good, thanks.
So I see Kimberly had her hand up. Does anyone else have a question before we do a second round? And I know we want to be mindful of our guest time as well. So does anyone else have a question that hasn't asked one or a comment?
I guess I have a question. Would there be a greater opportunity to integrate tactile strips within high needs spaces? For example, I travel quite a bit, and in the Ottawa transit system, they have tactile stripping everywhere through the transit center. And literally, it'll guide you from the elevator all the way to where you need to go onto the train and then all the way back. So let's say, for example, a lot of the, there could be a greater opportunity for integration of these tactile systems, for example, in our existing LRT stations, from what I remember.
In the transit, updated transit section, we do speak about guidance tactile strips. That's a new addition. That's a new addition in this version.
So it's in the next section we're going to talk about.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have time for Kimberly's, Heather, and Yogi?
Yes.
Kimberly?
It's quick. I know that if it's under city owned property or playgrounds, then the city will follow the guide. But if it's private or shared community spaces, does the city of Edmonton suggest that they take the initiative to build it based off of this guide? And then is there any extra incentive to convince people to use this guide through grants? Or how does that work? Sorry, and then a follow-up question to that one. Your last comment about, oh no, sorry, I forgot.
So we do share the Access Design Guide publicly. So while we've developed it for the City of Edmonton internally, we do post it on our website. It is available for anyone to take and use. We don't have a specific incentive or a grant requirement. There are other grants, the Federal Enabling Accessibility Act and such. But yeah, we don't have incentives for private businesses to use it, but we do share it publicly and encourage them if they approach us or ask.
Time for one more. Marie has it. When you're referring to community, are you referring to community leagues?
All
Playgrounds
community,
built by
yeah.
community.
Sorry?
Playgrounds built by community.
So are we saying that community leagues need to follow the accessibility guide or not?
No, when they do fundraising, no, it's not a mandatory that they follow that. But when city builds the playground and funds the,
Right,
then
but not
it
the
is
leagues.
mandatory. Correct, yeah.
They would have to follow code.
Next section.
Okay, so in general, all requirements in the current version of the guide was compared to current best practices. So all the sections and subsections are being refined. We are just showing a few examples of proposed changes. This doesn't catch them all. And as we go through the list, please let us know if any of these changes need more consideration before finalizing. So we are adding a new section describing exterior building signage. To me, this came from SAC because when we did the tour, you pointed out Edmonton Tower signage and talked about building signage. So the city have developed a design guide for exterior signage that includes accessibility considerations, which makes it easier for us. So we are going to add a link to this document in the access design guide. Currently, the exterior signage guide is not published yet, so they're just going to finalize it so that we can add the link in the guide. The proposed change to the guide also includes refinements to the building entrance section. Change requires that automatic sliding doors be added at all primary entrances of public facilities, and a power operated door adjacent to the sliding door in case sometimes sliding doors kind of break down and needs to be repaired. So if it is out of order, then there is still an accessible path. The requirements for power operator controls have been refined. So building code does ask for 2 heights of push buttons, but there are lots of new options that are in the market. So the guide proposes having a push plate, which is integrated with a touchless or wave to open sensor instead of push button. So it looks like that, but it is, you can also push it or you can use a wave, and its whole height is the push button. And we also adding requirement to clarify location of where the push plate should be located with adequate clearance for the door thing. So the door doesn't open on somebody.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, of course.
For the waveless ones and stuff, is there, because I've seen the ones in like the LRT stations, is there any way to make it like color, or are they black? Because I have trouble finding the waveless ones.
So the one that we're proposing that's waveless is connected to the push bar, so it's a whole push bar.
Okay.
They're typically silver chrome, and so we can make sure we have a note that there's color contrast with what's behind it.
Yeah, I guess that would be helpful.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
I think we already
Have it, we might, yeah, but just to double check, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have a question about that as well. So for sliding doors, I noticed that the picture has the sliding doors. Oh, is there like a yellow strip that can go across the door as well for someone with low vision so they don't run into the sliding doors? I wonder if there's some sort of visual cue or access on the door, like just right across the middle of the glass panel, so they know that the door is not going to slide open and they're not going to run into it.
Yes.
That could
It's a requirement in building code to have a 2-inch, and we in the guide.
I just don't see anything on that door.
So yeah, it's in the guide.
And we also have a color contrast of the door frame around the wall that it's on as well, so that's also included in the guide. Next one? Yeah.
So the minimum width for interior paths of travel, we updated that section with clearer requirements. The current guide only has a requirement for minimum width for public corridors and do not specify other accessible routes. So we are aligning with CSA to have a minimum width of 1200 millimeters, that's 1.2 meters for all accessible routes. And then just for context, building code asks for 1 meter. That's in the new building code, the previous one was 920 millimeters. So they did increase it too. And minimum width for all public corridors is 1800 millimeters. The current guide does not have a requirement for minimum door opening width. Building code, it is 850 millimeters. CSA standards ask for 860. That's a clear opening, excluding the door frames. So we will be adding the minimum door opening width for all interior doors in the updated guide. to align with CSA standards. Assistive listening systems. So building code requires assistive listening systems such as hearing loops in assembly spaces that are larger than 100 square meters. So one of the proposed additions to the guide is requiring a portable hearing loop to be provided for activity areas in public facilities, so even for smaller homes. For all new facilities, ramps are required to get into the pool, so as in the guide. But for existing facilities, sometimes due to space constraints, portable pool lifts gets added. So in these instances, the proposed change to the guide will require that pool pods be installed to support more independent use rather than a pool lift. And pool lift seems to break down a lot in remote areas. Adult change tables, it's a new addition to building code as well. They do require adult change tables in a main floor universal washroom of facilities designed for more than 500 people. So in the guide, we are adding a requirement for adult change tables to be included in universal washrooms or public facilities with change spaces, regardless of the occupant load. We added a new subsection for standard water closet stalls. That's a regular stalls, which not the accessible stalls. This includes adding a minimum clear width and color contrast requirements, and also accessible door latches for just regular water closet stalls, standard water closet stalls. I haven't figured out what the right term is yet.
Universal.
Universal is the big accessible one. These are the regular ones. It's basically applying accessibility requirements for color contrast and low interdexterity to other areas as well, not just accessible washrooms. We did add some clearer requirements for emergency call buttons in universal washrooms. This is again to align with CSA standards. Specific requirements for designated quiet spaces or quiet zones in public buildings with activity areas. So for example, recreation areas is also proposed to be added. We currently don't have a requirement in the guide. So those are some examples of proposed changes. We do have a question. Which of the listed changes do you anticipate have the most impact? And any other comments as well?
I would say having the minimum requirement for the regular washroom stalls, because I think that will apply to any user, whether that's someone with a mobility challenge or other consideration or just a regular person. You know, sometimes we're in a rush to go to the bathroom and things become a little complicated. So those kind of considerations might make the whole process easier for everyone.
Yeah. I think the accessibility to swimming pools, like in the change rooms. I have a few friends who they don't use the pools right now because they're not very accessible for them. So
having that adult table
and the types of lifts. Yeah.
Yes, oh, sorry.
Multi-unit residential. The biggest impact, I think.
We didn't specifically have a slide on what we added.
I'm just looking at your.
Yeah, but we did it. So
We did that.
That's totally
And I
fair.
was getting my headshot, so I was like, I don't know if we talked about this, but it's on the list.
Yes, it is on the list.
We primarily looked at CMHC as a guide for multi-unit residential buildings, universal design guide for multi-unit residential buildings, So that's what we used as a base reference. It was a really good guide.
I mean, you're talking about CSA, are you talking about?
CMHC.
No, just
In general.
Oh, CSA, we did look at that too.
it's
The P652.
2, 3
P652,
For the-
accessible dwelling units.
for each dwelling, but the other ones are, like, the other ones that you're bringing up to CSA standards are C651 probably? B6?
51 is for built environment. That's what we are looking at for
Everything else, yeah, that's,
Yeah,
these are
correct.
questions I'm asking.
Yes.
I have a question. For like the accessible, like, universal bathrooms, like the single, bathrooms, is there any, do they have like the push buttons to lock the door and open the door?
The universal washrooms does.
Okay, is there any way besides lights to identify the difference between lock and unlock? Because I always push the wrong one.
Great point. We'll have to do some research on that. We don't have an answer.
Like just even a different shape or having a braille label on the button or like a large print.
In the meantime, we could add a braille sticker, but
Yeah.
look into a more permanent solution. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have to.
Yeah, thank you for that.
So, oh, yes, go ahead.
Sorry, while we're talking about washrooms, something I saw through my social media online presence. Some countries have like descriptions of washrooms outside in Braille or other forms of language, so people can learn about what's inside the washroom before they go in there.
It's a washroom layout in Braille, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
saw that somewhere.
Yeah, they look cool.
It did come up, somebody had brought it up and then I looked it up to see, yeah, it is, they show the washroom layout in Braille. We didn't add it, into the guide. We could add it as a best practice. I haven't seen it in Edmonton.
So one
Yeah.
the church that's in the washrooms, Church Hill LRT
Church Hill?
station. Yeah, there is one for the public washrooms there. It was pretty nice. Yeah,
Their washroom has a Braille.
yeah,
layout.
that's a real, yeah.
I think it's just tactile, it's just like a raised tactile mat, right? It's
Yeah.
not like braille.
This is usually posted outside the washroom, right?
Yeah.
Showing the layout, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just like a raised mat, sort of, because
At Churchill.
I haven't seen it,
Oh,
but
okay.
that's just what I've seen before.
Okay, yeah, we'll check it out. Yeah. Thank you.
Daniel, where did you see it?
Oh, I just saw it on social media, so that.
Oh,
I saw it too, so like,
But
one of us will find it.
I know Burke can print Braille on signs, because I did visit Burke's printing facility recently.
Yes.
And they do have the ability to add the Braille dots or form on their writing signs. And they're very happy about having a new machine that does that on that.
For people with like learning disabilities or cognitive disabilities. Like, for example, I was just thinking about the locking door issue with the washroom. That might be another barrier for people that, that demographic. So same with the door opener thing, like you could have it announced like door locked, unlocked.
Clear it, really clear.
Yeah. So then it also serves as a double pronged approach to deal with like the color issues if there is any sort of blindness.
Yeah, because then you're taking the color blindness,
Right.
full blindness, as well as the learning disability.
Right.
That's,
Yeah,
I like that.
you're hitting two,
Kind of hitting it all at once.
yeah, I don't want to eat all birds, but two rich ones.
Okay, hand on birds for that one.
Seagulls,
Yes,
magpies.
exactly.
Magpie.
Yogi, I found the video. I'll send you a GChat link to an Instagram.
okay.
Anything else?
next, I think we're on the,
So,
one more question.
I'm gonna do a sort of pulse check with the room and our presenter Yogi and other presenters. So these were our examples of improvements, and things that we've added to the guide. We have another section on questions that we have. So items that our group has been discussing on what should we do. We've got conflicting information from different codes. So are we good to continue, or did we want to save this piece for November?
What's the consensus? We had booked the meeting for 7:30 because we knew we had two guests with that would generate lots of conversation. And so we could take even probably up to 25 minutes, if everyone is good with that, to work through as many questions as possible, if you are up to that. Or if you'd like to wait till November, then.
Okay, I think we're good then. Yeah,
Okay, you're good.
this has been really helpful, good conversation, so I think it kind of helps to stay in it.
I just need to take a shot
at the drive me.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're good then.
transit person here.
Plus, you graciously gave us some time of yours earlier, so thank you.
Okay, we can go to the next slide, Carissa. So these are our discussion questions. So the first one is the current access design guide requires a wide 300 millimeter tactile walking surface indicator at the top and bottom of a ramp. And so installations that have been done in recent years have followed this requirement. Next slide. But CNIB Clearing Our Path recommends a 50 millimeter, so a much skinnier tactile warning strip at the top and bottom of a ramp, installed on the sloped surface of the ramp. And next one. CSA standards also recommend the skinnier 15 millimeter warning strip at the top and bottom of the ramp, but installed on the flat surface before the slope begins. And next one. So in checking with our contact that we have at CNIB, it was indicated that the wide, 300 millimeter TWSIs are used to indicate warning and are better fit for curb ramps that lead to traffic or at the tops of stairs. And there was a risk of warning fatigue, which came up in our research because the wide TWSIs are typically used to indicate an imminent hazard. And so we are wondering if you have thoughts on whether we should align with CNIB Clearing Our Path and CSA and have the skinny warning strip at the top of ramps, or if we stick to what we had and go against those and have the 300 millimeter TWSI tactile walking surface indicators at the top of ramps.
So I'm going to straight up say I disagree vehemently with CNIB's decision on placements.
Okay.
Having the indicator on the ramp, like on the slope, goes against all universal standard.
Yes, so have it on the flat surface.
Exactly.
Yep,
Keeping
that
it
was
on
my
the flat surface is 100%. That means we're universal with literally every other country.
Yep.
I'd say I do agree with making it skinnier because anyone who's using a mobility cane does deal with a lot of fatigue from how to process all of the different textures, tactile indicators, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I would say 50 has always seemed too skinny for me, and I see those more as a trailing or like a wayfinding for, say, like a terminal. I'd say 100 millimeter I would agree with as a warning, but 50 does just feel a little too skinny.
And that is sort of some of the feedback we received, is that the tactile walking surface indicators that are wider, are sort of a warning if there's a stair that you could actually fall off, versus a ramp, it's not as necessary because you're going to continue on a path.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you. That's very, very helpful.
Yeah, I agree that bigger is better. But I should have thought about the wide ones being a little bit easier, but going back to the sidewalks, notice that some of the new areas and like even the renovated areas have much wider sidewalk. There's enough room now.
So I work as a service support provider working with deaf-blind individuals, and often will be walking on sidewalks, and if I'm beside them, they're typically holding on to my arm, and which is fine on the newer and the renovated areas, but I notice on older sidewalks, it is quite narrow and tight, or there'll be an electrical pole in the middle of the sidewalk. So that kind of, I have to stop and go around and, explain that there's a pole in the middle of the sidewalk, and then we're gonna have to reconnect after we get past this obstacle. So I wonder if there's a way to improve those lights that are in the middle of the street, or if there's like a tactile signal that could be put on the sidewalks if there is an obstacle coming up, making it easier to navigate.
Yeah, Yogi can probably add, but the requirements for the width have increased. And we have requirements to make sure that there's no obstructions, that it's a barrier-free path.
The width is in the Cumbrian Streets standards. There have been a lot of discussions on that at council, but yeah, the city have had 1.8 meter width since 2018, I believe. So that's where the newer ones are a bit wider. We do speak in the guide that there shouldn't be any obstructions in the clear width of the sidewalk.
For new sidewalks going.
Yeah, the older ones are a struggle, some are very narrow.
Right, and then they'll slowly be, can they be replaced and improved upon?
So when the city does neighborhood renewals, they do add sidewalks that meet current standards on width. That's when they issue.
Okay.
Okay, next question. You have one more?
I wanted to ask if, I know Jasmine and Victoria takes transit, so if you wanna leave, it's getting dark. Yeah, feel free.
Okay, so our next one is accessible change cubicles. So, keep in mind, we have accessible change rooms. So those are gonna have all of the accessibility features with the adult size change table. So these are just the cubicles we're talking about. So in some of our rec centers, we have some standard size change cubicles, and then we have one that's usually a little wider. That's also considered an accessible change cubicle if you don't want to use the big change room arguably. So what we're wondering is if we should, or what we're proposing is adding a requirement for a grab bar, perhaps on the rear wall of the accessible change cubicle. The image we have on the screen is showing an existing space without a grab bar. So we're wondering if that would improve accessibility and if there's other elements that we should consider adding into an accessible change cubicle. Oh, and the ramp, for example, turnaround space. So while these stalls are often a little bit bigger, like, do we need to have a full turning radius that we would have in a accessible washroom cubicle? Or is that not the purpose? Like, if someone needed the full turning radius, they have the universal change room, accessible change room. So we're not sure how these are being used. If it's more like limited mobility, if you'd be able to get in and get out without the full turning radius. So we're just wondering what kind of improvements we should make to these stalls.
I just want to comment on your beginning comment in this section about the suggestion of having a grab bar on the back wall. I don't think that would be a good idea because let's say the bench is, as you mentioned, against the wall as well. Mm-hmm. That could create a safety hazard as well because it is a form of barrier, and it could cause someone to have a difficulty if, let's say, they are falling down and need to grab the grab bar. If for some reason they don't, their face or head or whatever part of their body is going into the bench. So maybe what I would suggest, based on what I know, is maybe put it on the side wall instead of the back wall. But if other people want to share their opinions as well, that'd be awesome too.
I agree. Yeah.
I think it would be worth having a conversation with the Occupational Therapy Association because they're the ones who mostly install grab bars. So what would their recommendation be?
Thank you. Yes.
My instinct is also not the back wall, because you're also potentially limiting your seating capacity. I mean, so that would be the other consideration I would also add if we were going to do that. I would almost think like an L on the side of the bench, and then also extending past the bench. That might be, but I have no research for that. It's just my gut feelings telling me. And then, I mean, obviously, if we can get turn radiuses, and why not? Why wouldn't you?
Exactly.
But because I think there's probably lots of people who use walkers and stuff that don't necessarily need the full stage space.
I would agree with the grab bar on the side. You have children that are disabled and they don't have anything to hold on to. It's very difficult to work with, especially once it gets a little bit bigger. Or even seniors, to help them steady themselves. They want that grab bar.
Perfect. Yeah, these are all good stuff.
Emily just said I was gonna say the exact same thing about seniors. Also, a lot of deaf seniors, they don't have great balance, so they need something to grab onto in the bathroom or even in the bathtub. If there's extra mobility issues, it's typically on the sides, not on the back. I haven't seen anything done on the back of a room before, so I agree with what everyone's saying so far.
Okay.
Can
Oh, yeah,
can I add, we had some type of grab bar mechanism similar to an accessible washroom stall to make pulling the door closed easier. Because for some people with dexterity challenges, it might be hard to handle the door and then put the little latch
So
over.
make sure that the accessible cubicle has a accessible door pull on it.
Yeah, some type of door pull system, because I find those handy when I do use a wheelchair for going through accessible stalls, and not all washrooms have those door pulls, and it makes it a challenge to use those washrooms. So basically, I think with these washroom stalls, the principles of an accessible washroom also flow over to a change room stall, sorry, so. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we kind of were thinking, is that we have these stalls, but we don't have a lot of features in them. So maybe we can improve that. Yes, thank you. Okay. Next one. Yeah, is exhibits and displays. So we're wondering, what are optimal design principles for accessible exhibits and displays? How are table displays viewed, and do they need to be at a certain height? And are there any other elements to consider? So we've just been finding a lack of sort of guidance around this, or not a lot of information for displays. So we thought we'd put it out there, and if you don't know, that's okay, but if you have any suggestions on where we could look or what kind of height or what the solution.
I mean, looking at this picture, which is making me think of things, I mean, cane detectability, I think there's probably a lot of guidance you could find for similar like counters, for example. So yeah, cane detectability, if they're glass, like making sure that there's some kind of indicator that there's glass there. The corners are stressing me out. So like, about the corners. And then, I mean, height-wise, can probably.
We were thinking something similar to the height of a tactile directory. We have like, there's one at City Hall that's sort of an angled tactile directory.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Any other comments? Yep.
Could you incorporate more braille into the displays? Because I noticed a lot of places don't have a lot of braille. One great example of braille I recently noticed, or implementation of braille, that is over at the Royal Alberta Museum. Currently, the Orca exhibit has a braille chart on the sidewall that I believe describes what's mentioned in the displays that are on the wall. So if you want to check that out, the Orca exhibit is around till next week. This isn't a promo for that exhibit at all, but they do have some of those braille charts to go along with the information that's displayed along the walls of that specific exhibit. That's something I noticed when I visited there.
Yeah, that's the exact kind of thing we're looking for, so that's a
We
good
have it.
suggestion. Yeah, we do have it already, yeah.
Sounds like what we were on.
That's worse. Really bad.
Okay, go ahead.
The exhibit.
You were just talking about the Braille at the museum. I don't know if you've seen, the Human Rights Museum in Winnipeg. They have, it's a Braille, they have it in Braille, but then beside it, they've got kind of like an iPad screen where it's in ASL as well. So it's at a demo table. It's got all the information there in Braille and English and in ASL. That might be something that we can set up here. This is a little bit off topic, but my friend went to Japan last summer. And when they were there, the technology is just skyrocketing in Japan. All the buildings had different speaker systems, and because we're deaf, we can't hear any of the warnings, or if the stores are closing soon, anything like that. There was one thing that connected to the phone, and that before you go into a building, you tap your phone to it, and if there's anything auditorily sent through a PA system, it automatically pops up on your phone. So it's nice. I've never seen that before. My husband and I, we went shopping in Freshco. We were shopping, and we didn't know that there was a system saying the store will be closing soon in 10 minutes or whatever that was. We had no idea. We're both deaf. We're shopping, taking our time, and then someone came up to us and we're like, "Oh, we already locked the door. Why are you still in here?" And we explained we're deaf, and we had no idea that they didn't know we were still in the building. So that's one example of where technology can take us. So when our friend told us that there is that system in Japan, it would be nice if that is something that could be incorporated in the malls or any public spaces, that trains, buses, anything where there's vocal information being shared, if there is some way for it to connect to our devices and we could see that in written or in sign language.
Yeah, we love these examples. So one of our questions is actually looking for examples. Ideally in Edmonton, it's nice to show local and take pictures and use those, but often we can't find things here and we need to be the innovator. So having those examples in Winnipeg and Japan, that's super helpful. Thank you.
Rita, you had a comment.
Yes, on a lot of the displays or exhibits, there's a lot to read. And people with like dyslexia, learning disabilities, they don't take the time or the energy it takes to get through, and then they may not even retain it. So something that is verbal for them, that they push the button and it tells them about it.
The other one I would actually suggest would be pretty easy, is having things like QR codes, where the same information that's written can be accessible by a QR code. For those of us who, I'll use me as an example. I'll walk around and I'll scan text on my phone just to read it instead of having how to figure it out. If I can just scan a QR code, get the same information, I can then read it on my phone and clear that space for the next person to go and view whatever on display.
I have to agree with that too, that in a lot of European countries and they have QR codes at all their art galleries and museums, and you can take it away with you and read it at home in your hotel room or,
And even if we haven't sort of made it here quite yet, we can think about some of these things as including as best practices to consider or try to figure out.
Was there any comments around wearable technology like that we have had
Not
like they
yet.
provide them, like sort of like going to a 3D movie and you get the glasses.
I think the downfall of something like that is they have to be paired to.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, because that was actually a thought I had, but then all of all the glasses, none of them are self-sufficient.
They just give you a phone and very well.
Well, what if the phone's better than what you currently have?
Well, the glasses are definitely better than what I currently have.
Never mind.
Next question.
Okay, we've got, I think, 3 example left. Yeah, 3 left. So next one is exterior paths of travel. So what makes a path of travel accessible in natural environments? For example, another question is a mowed lawn considered accessible? And under what conditions, if any? One of the reasons this came up was, for example, our dog parks, our off-leash dog parks. So we did some work to make them accessible, but it's a grass, the ice rink that's filled in, but it's grass in summer. So is it accessible if the grass is mowed very low? Yeah, that is our question to you in terms of when there is no paved path.
I think it's better. Just thinking of manual wheelchair users, they have to push through thick grass or whatever.
Yeah, keeping it as short as possible.
Yeah.
Oh, Tanya?
For me, it wouldn't be so much about like whether grass is long or short, but how level the ground actually is. Especially like ankle weakness.
Yes, including ramps to get in and out of the place, because there's some that don't have, you can't get into the rink area. Yeah.
I think we're thinking also, ideally, probably having like a cement or some kind of, I mean, obviously cement might be more permanent, but some kind of surface to the side, like you can enter it in a little section. Because if it's an off-leash area, you don't need to necessarily run around.
Like if you had a concrete pad inside a gate, someone could wait there while their dog runs around.
Yeah, like you can just get out of the way and then.
You
while
can
your
make a
dog's
note of
doing-
that for dogs off leash too.
We were also wondering about like sports fields and stuff with this question.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yes. Oh, just that, so dogs off leash was one example, but we're also thinking of like sports fields if you have to cross over.
I was thinking like the type of aggregate that's used for the trail. For example, like loose gravel is awful for manual wheelchairs because the wheelchair wheels get stuck in the gravel because the gravel chips or gravel rocks or whatever is used tend to sink. So you need to find the ideal mixture of materials that go into the path. For example, when the Smith pedestrian crossing bridge opened, I went to that opening event and I thought the path was okay, but it wasn't great. It could have been improved for people using wheelchairs, especially manual wheelchair users. So my point is though, I think maybe try to go more towards like hard compact material and find a good balance. Because if you can find that right balance, whether it's in a forested tree area or a grassy path, a nature area, it doesn't matter because your wheelchair will generally be able to go through it. And most people wouldn't have a problem. But again, we do have to design for like the highest need user or, you know, that type of thing as you both know. So, yeah.
Excellent.
All right, 2 more?
Yeah.
So why don't we get to those so that we.
Next one is benches. So considering benches, what is a reasonable distance between benches along an accessible path of travel? So we've had some debate about this one. I think we had a lack of requirements and then maybe too many benches close together. So any feedback on how far apart they should be?
I don't have a comment on how far apart, but my comment is more to ensure that the benches stay as benches and that they don't have those partitions on them and
To discourage.
yeah, like, no. I don't know if that's in the.
Go ahead, Tim.
We have a requirement for a mix of armless and armrests, but I'm not sure. if
They
there's
don't
some
speak
there.
to the,
No.
yeah, puppy share. Yeah.
Sam, you were next.
My instinct is when you have your placard, you can comfortably walk 50 meters. So that would be my instinct, but that does feel really close together.
So I think that's what we originally proposed to some parks was 50 meters, and it ended up in a big park being a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's some way to do other break spaces that aren't just bench based, like, you know, if it's a park and there's like a fountain, you know, you can maybe sit on the edge of the fountain, or maybe there's a handrail
Different
somewhere,
seating types and opportunities.
or just, yeah, like resting places, but that's really complicated to prescribe.
No, you're actually bang on, because that's sort of what they did at I was thinking about Horla, because they had different types of seating. So when they had that, they didn't necessarily put in a bench because there was some other form of seating. So yeah, you're right on with that idea.
Okay. And last break to Kimberly on this one. I think it should be wide enough for people who have, you know, walkers or wheelchairs. I know there's a few that are really quite compact. So if you do use a walker, you use a wheelchair, you're gonna sit side by side. You can't sit side on the bed and then have the walker or wheelchair beside you. They're not at the same level. They can't be next to you. You have to sit, you know, farther apart.
Yeah.
So it's not like that they can't like sit with their people if they're all having to sit. Far. Same with picnic tables as well. I see picnic tables that have like a wheelchair space ready. The person's not trying to sit on the edge of the table. They actually can sit like in the middle. Like one side doesn't have like a bench, so like people can pull right up to the picnic table, for example. And then people can sit across from them at like a nice bench. That's just more inclusive in general.
Any other comments on benches?
For the distance apart, it would be nice to have a bench in it, like about every second block. With people who has chronic fatigue, I find the benches a lot on the paths way too far apart. They're not close enough that way to, or even when you have a retaining wall, have a bit that you could sit on the retaining wall or something that you can just sit and rest.
Yeah, creative other ways to add rest.
Yeah.
Okay.
But about every second block is what is kind of nice when you just don't have the energy to keep on going and you've got to rest.
Okay. Last one. And this is Kimberly, you brought this up earlier. So this was our question on trails and shared use paths, including River Valley trails. So you talked about the roller coaster. So yes, slope we've noted is a key factor. So what are your thoughts on how trails such as River Valley trails can be made more accessible? Are you familiar with shared use paths that are shared by people using different modes of travel, mobility devices, bikes, scooters? And are there any concerns with shared use paths from an accessibility perspective? So we'll make sure we note the slope and the roller coaster. Is there anything else?
I suppose there's no like for like boat launches, there's no like safety features for those. It's pretty rough. That grade's quite rough to get in there. So if people are like in a walker or like a wheelchair, they can't get down to the water's edge. It's just quite rough and it's not safe at all. So if we could improve like boat launch areas, like for example in Vancouver, looks like they have like a floating like ramp, like, you know, for like when the tide's coming out. I know we don't have the same issue, but so that's, you know, if the water is coming up, it can raise up a little bit, so wheelchair users or people can still walk out onto that boat launch, as opposed to having a big gap between.
So
Something you can look at, like how they're doing.
We have an existing parks master plan that identifies accessibility improvements to boat launches. So one of the actions in my department is actually to prioritize funding those. So thank you to have this documented now in writing. Hold that out.
So the one thing that I would recommend would be embedding like wayfinding, like the Twizzies, stuff like that, or intersecting paths. That way it's known like, okay, I know where I am on a trail, but I need to get off. If there's an intersecting path, having something like the Twizzy to identify would be awesome. But also looking at the multi-use that runs alongside the Millwoods LRT, there's nothing on there to identify tactilely that where the train platform access points are. So if you're walking down from the Millwoods terminal, you've got the Twizzies on that pathway towards the LRT, but the multi-use itself that runs parallel has nothing.
Also would be great to know
A
the.
reminder to use hands. Sam had her hand up, so Drew, if you don't mind waiting.
Sorry.
Yeah. Sam, go ahead.
Okay.
Okay, so, from a shared use path perspective, I do have some concerns around accessibility, especially some of the kind of older, more existing ones. I take this one on 101 a lot, and it's not, I think there's a lot of old or pre-existing ideas about like biking on a sidewalk, for example, because I use a bike. So it is big, it does say it's the shared use path, but there are, you know, a lot of folks who maybe don't recognize it, especially because it's like downtown, you're not supposed to be on the sidewalks downtown, like that's something I have in my brain anyway, you know? So I think either more like clarity and signage or like in complete streets, which I really like, is like having kind of shared use paths that, and, you know, what's those ones? The bike lanes? But they have
The bike lanes.
they have special names, I think. But like having it, so it's like if you are on a scooter or a bike or something, you have access to that. And then if you are a pedestrian or using a mobility aid or something, you can be maybe on
Separating them. And we were looking at some examples from Vancouver along the seawall where they have really great imaging and signage along the whole thing. They're like walking or biking the whole lane even.
yeah, like even something that separates it so
Yeah.
that there's some clarity for everyone using it.
Trina, last word to you.
Sorry, can I clarify?
Sam, you were saying clarity and signage on who the path is meant for? Is that what you meant?
I think like a little bit like who's allowed to be on it, like, yeah, can I be skateboarding on there? Because there's a lot of different age groups and nationalities and all kinds of people who are using these paths and have maybe a different understanding of what's a shared use path is actually for. I think some of the newer ones are a little bit clearer, and especially when they're in like parks, it's like, oh yeah, somebody's probably going to be using a bike, a scooter, something in this area. Whereas like when it's like a commute situation, I think it's maybe less clear all the time. So having some information about, yeah, who can be using the path, where it ends, where it begins, because I struggle with that too sometimes. So I don't want to be on the sidewalk if I shouldn't be on the sidewalk. But then, yeah, there's some kind of laning system that we can use. That's tough, but it just helps. Especially like people are deaf or blind with these scooters and stuff. It's nice if they can know where they should be.
Yeah, they
able
go
to
right,
be safe.
they slam right past you. That's a good point.
Yeah.
One of the things I noticed in Norway that would really help here, if you go on a trail, they have it listed 1 to 5, I think it was. 1 is almost flat and 5 has a really steep incline on it. So you can make a decision whether or not that trail is too difficult. And especially in River Park here, for people who don't know the River Park.
Yeah.
I got caught a couple of times.
Thank you.
Last word to Daniel.
Oh, this is a quick thing, but could we add like stop signs at like roadway and shared use pathway intersections so people know to stop and look across the road instead of going straight across the road? And causing difficulties, or, I mean, it just seems common sense. Maybe it's a traffic safety act thing, and there's other considerations I don't know about, but that's just something I noticed. Because I know at, like, for example, at golf courses, when golf carts are crossing main roadways, like Rundle Park, for example, they have stop signs telling the golf cart users to stop their cart and look before they cross the roadway, so.
We'll
Go ahead,
check Complete
Oh,
Streets
sorry.
team to see if they have it in there already. Yeah.
Marie's looking at me longingly, so.
I'm actually just gonna hitch a ride on your comment because it has to do with the speed limits. And we were just having this discussion yesterday at our community league about the trails are becoming very dangerous with, so like the scooters that are under 20 are fine, but now they're getting to be 30, 40, 50 kilometers an hour and they're on shared trails. So I'm thinking some kind of speed limits on trails. E-bikes as well, that sure, they're fine, but when they're going 60 kilometers an hour on a shared trail, that's not fine.
And so just to wrap this up,
Thanks.
yeah, our final comments or questions, if you come across any examples in the city, we had it in a question, but if there's anything you want to share after or see examples, please always feel free to send us those in pictures and we can kind of use those as guidance. If we also thought if there's some quotes that came out of today that we might be able to use, we could reach out and check with you to see if that might be something you were comfortable with. Looking for kind of those quotes or stories from real humans to include. So that was one other piece. And do you have anything else about the kind of
We didn't hear a lot about good Edmonton examples. Right now I feel really behind, but yeah. If you really like something in the facility, then we would like to have a photo.
We don't always have them. Like the other day in Old Strathcona, they added that push bar picture. So I went and took a picture. So if you see anything in your travels that is good, we also like to.
Local travels.
Local, yeah.
Thank you. I give you lots of examples. I can't read all can from other places. So thank you. I hope you come away if it gives you more questions or you want to come back and pick our brains a bit more. Clearly, we have lots of enthusiasm for this topic.
No, we really appreciate it, that lived experience and your shared experience.
I think this one question.
Very helpful.
If you're really quick, because there's still 5 agenda items.
Really quick question. For program accessibility, is that part of this? That's entirely a different thing? Okay.
So this is infrastructure.
Got it. That's just what I wanted.
Yeah, but if you want to talk about program accessibility, you can send me a note. Let's do a CRC.
Community recreation on that group.
Yeah.
I guess that last meeting.
Yeah, feel free to connect with me after. Okay.
Well, thank you very much.
I missed that last.
Okay, we have, I think I said 5, I think there's, well, there's about 5 agenda items left, but there should all be relatively quick. The first one is, just a reminder that October 20th is the election. So if you haven't done it, the advanced, voting, try to get out on the 20th and do that. Next is the chair update. So I just have 3 quick things to share. A number of us some members and exec went to the Dean Connect event that Goodwill put on a week or so ago, and it was a wonderful event. Great guest speakers. Something that, should it come up again next year or another such opportunity, I think we'd encourage as many as possible. I know it's hard to take an afternoon to do something like that, but it was worth it to be there. Zachary Weeks at his table and other really interesting people.
Was he signing autographs?
No. The second one is probably the most important thing I have to say, which is that if you received an email asking if you are wanting to seek reappointment for this committee for the next coming year, if your term is up and you want to be reappointed for another term, please get your email response in as soon as possible. I think the 26th is 26th is the deadline. So please make sure if you haven't already let the office of the city clerk know that you'd like to stay on for another 2 years?
I'll be
Carissa?
bugging you on the 24th if you
All right.
haven't filled it out, and
I was just gonna say, will there be, because
there'll be a
I can't remember
reminder.
if I filled it out or not.
I will remind everybody then.
You know,
Who needs it?
this is just so when I'm on the Senate, and when we complete a Google form, we actually get an email that says, thank you for completing this Google form. So if I need to know if I remember to sign up for a
Yeah.
meeting, I can search it. Do we do that?
It's not a Google form, it's a Google Doc.
Sorry.
That's why. That's why it doesn't get that.
Oh, well, these are forms that I fill out.
The one that I did, because I did my.
Oh,
research,
that's a doc. That's why we
It's a
don't get it.
Google Doc.
Okay, so they do a Google form. Okay, that's what you meant. I thought, anyway, okay, thank you. One more thing. So exec, participated in the recruitment information session. Recruiting will kick off, a little bit later this year. That's a shortened time frame because of the election. So recruiting will happen for the first 2 or 3 weeks of January. So if you know someone, once we have a sense of how many people will be not continuing with the committee, how many spaces we have to fill, we'll have a sense of how many people we're looking for. So yeah, they will do recruiting after Christmas this year instead of starting in early December. And shortlisting of candidates for city council to interview will happen early February. And interviews will happen in March. So everything's a little bit tighter, but recruitment is coming up already. And that's my update. Policy, Sam?
I'll be quick. We had a pretty short meeting. We felt like it was hard to do any policy. There's not lots on the council agendas because we're in election season. So we just did a quick discussion around sort of what we might want to put in a welcome letter to our new council once they come in to make sure that they know what we care about. So nice, things related to our plan. The policy committee is happy to kind of draft that letter and then get it to the rest of the group to look at in case there's anything, of course, that we missed. And then we talked a little bit about what we were looking for. Transit came up again because we had lots of transit conversations with Joshua. So we were wondering who it is from actually Mid you would maybe want to invite to talk to us, as well as EPS came up. And we talked about taking a look. Actually, no, that's it. We talked a little bit about some events like IDPD and stuff, and I said I would throw that ball over to Zach. So
yeah, and I'll just add, sorry, further to your comment about like things that tie in with our priorities and work plan. The other thing that's happening is the development of our next work plan will not happen until July, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and then
so we will maintain our current work plan. I'm not sure it will change that much anyway, but we will revisit it when we have our new members in July. Zach, community engagement update.
Community engagement update is that we had to cancel the candidate forum for the election. And the last, it was just a matter of us not being allowed to do it, not that we didn't have capacity. Other than that, we are now starting to post online. Big thank you to everyone who's been helping out with that, particularly Daniel, posts. We did put a post out regarding exercising your right to vote in the election, and I forget the other one that you sent me, Daniel.
It was about the Winter Together grant.
Right. That's rather than that, nothing else.
Now, Zach, when are these posts going to go out? I didn't see the ones on Instagram.
On Instagram. Okay, let me double check. Okay. It should go right away.
Awesome. Okay. And admin.
I will make it very short and sweet, and we can do follow-ups after this meeting. The government's framework is still underway. Don't know anything else new at this moment in time. We just have a new budget update for the end of September. You're currently sitting at 13,000 and change. You still have 31,000 and change left to spend for the rest of the year, which obviously we probably won't. Just a reminder that transportation is provided for all AEC meetings. And if you're attending an event or anything, we will provide transportation to and from the event as well.
So that's parking or Ubers or taxis, etc. We've had a few requests for IDPD connections. So I'll send that out to exec and then I'm sure it'll get sent out to everybody. Social media, we finally are working with Disabilities, just creating their vendor contact. We just have had a few to and fro with them a little bit, but we're making progress. So yay, progress. And anything else I'll share or in an email.
That sounds great. Well, thank you everyone for coming and for participating and for your enthusiasm.
Rose, I do have one question related with the election. For the city of Edmonton, I haven't seen any ballots sent out or where to go to vote for my jurisdiction. There's a few deaf people that have reached out to me saying, what do I do? Where do I vote? I don't know. I haven't gotten any information. So I just want to clarify, is it because of the post office strike that we haven't received anything?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was right. I wanted to make sure that I had the right information before I said anything. So
I would
what
assume
are
it'll
we
be on the
supposed to do?
website. Well, I'm assuming it's on the website.
Everything is on the website. I'll send out a link with the minutes, hopefully before the election, obviously, and share that information with you and you can share it with anybody else.
Okay, great. I'll share that with Annie. Great, thank you.
So I will adjourn the meeting. Marie's here if you want to sign the petition if you haven't already. So, looks like we all have.
You all have, that's awesome.
I have.
We're gonna start all my community.
Thank you, everyone.